Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a little tutorial on how to make Windows 7's performance just a little bit better. I know it runs pretty fast right now, right out of the box compared to Vista and even XP, but hopefully these tips will improve on that performance and make it run even faster. So starting off, we're going to go into your start menu and bring up the temporary file by typing in %temp, %, again, hit enter. That just brings up this page. All these files are basically from browsing the web and being on your computer, just daily tasks, and it builds up after a while. And if you've never emptied it before, I've seen them full up to even 40 gigs, and that's just piled up into your hard drive, taking up space. So hit Control A to select everything, hit delete on your keyboard, and that just moves everything over to your recycle bin. And remember to empty out your recycle bin because they're still on your computer. Next up, we're going to go into your MS config, again from your start menu, and if you haven't already, hit selective startup, go under your startup tab, and by default all these programs that you've installed or the manufacturer has installed, pre-installed, are going to be checked. So they're all going to start up at the beginning of every boot of your computer. So you're going to want to go through these, and everything that isn't necessary or vital for your computer to start up, essentially, or I should say, it's not essential for your computer to start up on. Maybe you want to just keep your antivirus and printing software so that it can be up and running as soon as you are. But anything like iTunes that you can open up whenever you want, those should be unchecked so you can determine when to pop it open. Just so you don't have a bunch of windows popping up at the same time of every boot, and that takes up a lot of resources. That's why it takes so long to boot up some computers. Next up, under your boot tab, hit advanced options. If you haven't already, hit number of processors, check that box. In this drop down menu, you want to hit the largest number that you see. That's the amount of processors you have in your computer, and you want to hit the largest amount of processors you have. In my case, it's 4. Yours could be 2, 4, 8, 16, whatever the case. Hit the largest number of processors you have. Hit OK, hit apply. Side note, you might want to hit no GUI boot. That just gets rid of the little floating Windows logo that floats around at the beginning of every boot cycle. That just takes up resources in developing that little swirly thing, and it could be used to increase performance as your computer boots. So that just makes it a black screen from now on. If you click that, that's your choice. If you don't, under the Tools tab, you want to highlight the Change UAC settings, launch it, and by default it's going to be all the way to always notify. You want to bring this slider down to never notify and hit OK, and that just disables the little Windows security measure that every time you click on everything, it warns you if you want to install it or uninstall it, run it, things like that. It's what made Windows Vista pretty much really annoying for most users and unbearable. So you want to disable that and not download crap from the internet, basically. Next up, we're going to write a little script. So we're going to go to the start menu and look for your notepad. And this script is basically going to dump out any RAM files that are left over in there, taking up space that should be used for your CPUs. It should be readily available, I should say, so that your CPU can use it instead of being taken up by random crap. So we're going to type in my string =, open parentheses, 8, and followed by 7 zeros. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Close parentheses, hit File, Save As, or save it to your desktop. We're going to leave at Save As type as text document. We're going to change the file name to quotation marks memory.vbe end quotes, and save. That's going to wind up on your desktop. Here it is on mine. Every time you double click it, that's going to run the script, and it's basically going to dump out any extra memory files that are in your RAM, taking up space for vital other things that your CPU could be using. So moving on, we're going to go into your Internet Explorer or any other browser you have. We're going to go into Google because it's easier. and we're going to search for defraggler. And this piece of software is by Perform, and all you're going to want to do is download the file, run it, install it. While you're at Perform, you'll want to get CCleaner if you haven't already, and CCleaner is basically this piece of software right here that allows you to empty out your cycle bin and basically search for registry errors, empty out your temporary file like we just did. It makes it easier from here on out. So you want to download that. Every computer should have that piece of software, in my opinion. So you want to download both those files and run them. I won't do that because I already did. And it's going to ask you if you want to replace Windows Disk Defragmenter. That's just going to mean that this defragger is going to run on top of it and make it your default one. You want to install it. And right away, when we go into the program, you're gonna see that the UI is way nicer, and it's way more user friendly, and it just looks better. You hit Analyze to watch your to see your drive in color, and basically this is your little table, your key. All you need to know is that your blue is non-fragmented files, red are fragmented. So the more red you have, the worse your drive is, and all the white is empty space. Your palish yellow is paging files, and depending on how many fragmented files you have, in my case it's like at 7 gigabytes right now, so that's going to take a while. Depending on how many fragmented files you have, it's going to take anywhere from minutes to hours to defrag. And fragmentation basically is when your files are split up and are in different sectors of your hard drive, and it takes longer for the read-write head of your hard drive to go and get that piece and bring it over to whatever you're working on at that moment. So defragmenting basically brings everything together and keeps it next to whatever you're working on, so it can be readily accessible. So that's that, and yeah, just hit defrag and it'll start defragging, and that's just a really good piece of software to have. So next up, we're going to go into your registry editor by hitting reg edit into your start menu search box. And again, all these things you're going to be required to be as running the system as administrator, or yeah. And also a reboot is required to see any change in your computer. So once you're in here, you hit local machine, system, current control set, and highlight control. We're going to double click on wait to kill service timeout, and this is basically the amount of time that Windows takes to kill any services. Say if you have a Windows Internet Explorer page open and it takes forever for Windows to kill, this is going to reduce the time. I believe it's in milliseconds. By default it's going to be at 1200 or something like that. You want to reduce it down to 50, but not much lower than that, because say if you're working on a Word document, you want to give the RAM enough time to dump everything out onto hard drive, so you won't lose those files on the next reboot. Double click on control, go down to file system, and we're going to double click on NTFS disable last access update. By default it's going to be at the value 0. You're going to want to change that to 1. Hit OK as hexadecimal and exit. Remember, that's going to require a reboot to see any change. Next up, we're going to go into your start menu again and search for services, and it has this little gear symbol next to it. Again, running as administrator, it's going to bring up this page, and we're going to scroll down to your Windows section, and we're going to look for search, Windows search. We're going to double click. It's not going to look like this. By default, it's going to look like, hold on just a second. It's going to look like this. All you're going to want to do is drop down this menu, hit disable so it doesn't enable itself every time you start up, hit stop to kill the service or the process right away, and that's it. You can Google more stuff that you can disable. Say if you have a desktop, or it's all depending on if you have a desktop or a laptop, if you use the services on there, you can disable multiple things and free up different resources. So that's good to Google and find out about those things. Last thing on my list is we're going to go into advanced system settings by using the keyboard shortcut of Windows key and then pause break. You're going to hit both of those keys, Windows key and pause break on your keyboard, and that brings up your system specs, and you're going to hit advanced system settings. Under the advanced tab, under performance, we're going to hit settings. Under visual effects, we're going to hit we're going to look at the visual effects that we need. We're going to want to disable anything that isn't essential to run on your desktop or make it like aesthetically pleasing. This is all a matter of choice. Of course, like anything else on this video, all you're going to do is go through this, and anything that says animate or fade or translucencies, stuff like that, that is normally aesthetically pleasing to the eye, you want to disable that, like smoothing. You don't really need that. All you're going to want to keep enabled is desktop composition, so you keep the general layout of your desktop and the color schemes, stuff like that, and maybe these the clear selection box, stuff like that you want to keep. But this is all a matter of choice. You want to mess with that a little bit to free up resources for your computer. Under the advanced tab, and hit apply when you're finished. Under the advanced tab, under virtual memory, you want to hit change. Here's where our math comes. By default, it's going to be automatically manage paging file size for all drives. You want to uncheck that, hit custom size, and under initial size and maximum size is where we're going to do our math. We're going to bring out your calculator, and basically what it comes down to is every gig of RAM transfers over in megabytes to 1024 meg. So if we go back to this screen right here and installed memory RAM, we see that in this computer in particular we have 4 gigs of RAM installed, so that transfers over to 1024 times 4. It could be different for you. You would be multiplying 1024 by 6, 8, 16, 32 gigs, whatever the case. You multiply whatever number you get by 1.5, and that's the number that you're going to be setting as your cap on the virtual memory. And what virtual memory is, what it does is basically trick your system into thinking it has more physical RAM than it actually does. That's why it's called virtual, and it allows your system's processes and programs to run at their optimum settings, not capping them off, not restricting their resources, and basically letting them operate as needed until you reach that cap. If you reach that cap, it will slow down your system, but unless you do, it will significantly increase the performance in every program you run. The only way to avoid this butting of heads, basically, if your Windows system finds out you don't have that much memory, is basically going out and buying physical RAM. I mean, physical RAM, 8 gigs of RAM is dirt cheap now. It's next to nothing. I believe it's getting down to under $100 for 8 gigs of RAM, and that's gonna end up saving you in the long run, because more RAM equals more speed, more ability to run multiple windows and stuff like that. So just hit set, and that requires a reboot like everything else, and that ends this video. I know there's a lot of tweaks out there and a lot of things you can do to your computer, and in YouTube you can go searching for those. Please comment on what you think is the best tweak, and please comment on your own tweaks, what you think are better to tweak on your computer to improve performance. And thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and see you later.